Hi everyone, and thanks for creating this opportunity. Um, I think in the earlier presentation, I think broadly it has been covered that what PSCA is about, what are the core principles, and what each one of them means. I will just take the conversation forward from there, and I think I'll be talking more about that what it means when we say that we have to institutionalize at the level of the organization and at the level of the communities we work. So, as we all know, and many of you who are working with the UN organizations as well, you know that when we look at the PSCA framework, there are some eight core standards. And, as we were talking a while ago, that when we look at these eight core standards, they are pretty comprehensive in themselves. So, and if we look at the framework, then there is a prevention piece where we talk about having policies, or I would say it's more of prohibition. So the organization having and the core principles they mandate the organization to have basically all the policies in place and how what it means to the employees of that organization when you have a policy, or what it means to a community when you have, or what it means to the different stakeholders the organization is working. So I think if any organization has the policies in place, then what immediate message which it gives to its employees, to its communities, and to the other stakeholders with who the organization work is that one is that the organization is cognizant of the fact. It also reflects that the organization has one of its core values of that we are zero tolerant to any kind of exploitation, abuse, or disrespectful behavior. It also gives a clear message to the employees, to the communities, and to the stakeholders we work with is that there will be action taken if there is any behavior or conduct of sexual exploitation. Now, this is the first piece of the eight core standards. So they are eight, but they are largely divided into one is prohibition or the prevention, then it's more about awareness, and the third one is redressal. So if you look at the eight standard, this is how they are divided. So I spoke about the first one. Now, when you look at the first one, the first two standards, the first one talks about the policy, but the second one talks about that how do you cascade it at the level of the vendors you work with. So, and most interesting, and I think the useful piece I find of this framework is that each of the eight standard has actually set of indicators that actually how do you implement them. Okay, so I think that's something very important because often there are frameworks which will tell you that this is what you should be doing, but how you should be doing is something which the PSCA framework also gives, which is, I feel, a very powerful part about it. Now, the second part is about prevention. If you look at prevention, and if you look at the third and the fourth and little bit of the fifth also, or the core standards, is that it talks about one is that doing trainings and doing awareness sessions both at the level of the community and the level of the team. Now, here again, when the organization is mandated to conduct some of these awareness sessions, and it is just not through trainings, but it is also through a series of IC material, etc. I think it creates again an environment which is an environment and a culture of trust and respect where people feel that, okay, if my organization is doing this very seriously, that means I have a space to reach out for support. I have a space to speak up. Okay, whether it is at the community level or whether it is at the level of the at the level of the employees. Also, people who are inclined towards this kind of behavior, when the organization conducts some of these awareness sessions, displays IC material, I think in a way, even I wouldn't like to call them potential perpetrators, but people who are coming from this kind of a mindset, they just feel that, okay, if this kind of a session or an orientation has been done, that means the organization is very serious, and if I am going to, so it's just not at the policy level. Okay, so it's just not at the policy level, and it is largely at the level of the actual implementation. So I think the second piece is actually, covers all of that. The third is, I think, very important, is the whole redressal mechanism which this framework gives. Now, what happens is that the more we do awareness, there is a possibility that there will be where people will start recognizing that what is happening with me is maybe sexual exploitation, or maybe something which is happening at the community level. So one of the immediate output or outcome we see is that, people want, the complaints will come up, or people will reach out to support. Now we can't say that, oh, I'm an organization working on health or on education, and I don't know how to, redress or respond, or how do I do the investigation. Now, one very important piece about the PSEA framework, and when I've dealt with the different implementing partners, is the PSEA framework gives the flexibility to the organization that you can have your own internal mechanism of responding and redressal, or it gives you sufficient space and also gives you ideas on allocating resources to that, if you want to basically get on board an external agency who is basically into response and redressal. Okay, so I think this is something which, and then it's, and even the last bit is very comprehensive. It actually mandates the organization to have actually list of the referral organizations. So the checklist, and especially when I look at in the UN organization, the implementing partners having to follow all the all the standards. Sometimes you will feel, oh, it is too punitive because it is linked to their grant disbursement. But I think this is how institutionalization happens. Yes, the flip side of this is also that if it is linked to the project and the grant, there are chances that it might just happen then at the compliance level. But I think if the organization believes, and if the organization takes this, so every time when I am doing orientation with the implementing partners, I start with that, what are your core values? And normally most of the organization will have diversity or respect as one of their core values. Now, how do you live out this core value? It is through something like this. So I think this is a very practical aspect of the framework. One of the challenges which I see at times is that in India, there is also a POSH Act. So initially, sometimes the implementing partners, think that, okay, if I am, because POSH is mandatory, as we all know, as per the POSH Act of 2013. So most of the organization, when the first level of assessment is done, you will find that they will have an IC, they have the POSH policy, and sometimes they think and they feel or they understand that PSEA and POSH can be like in the same breath. But then it is very important that when we are trying to implement it, institutionalize it, then we have to basically cascade that understanding very clearly that PSEA in this context is a larger umbrella, and within that POSH is there. And of course, PSEA has a much wider scope as well, because it covers communities. Communities, of course, you can cover under POSH as well, but children as well. So, but of course, when we have a longer session, we can discuss. But I think one of the most important thing for institutionalizing is that not institutionalizing just the compliance, but actually but using PSEA framework to institutionalize the culture of respect, the culture and the core values of zero tolerance to any kind of exploitation and abuse. I think I'll stop here. And in case there are questions or we want to take it in the end, that's fine.
Thank you, Rashmi. You have so beautifully explained the framework. That is the basis and the fundamental guiding document for all of us. And all these words are coming from your practical experience. so fluently you were going on this topic. That itself shows that you have conviction on what you're saying, and you have all experience, and you are introduced so wider audience. Anybody can contact you, and they would be benefited also. You talked about many things, but what is critical is, our previous speaker also, panelist also talked about the culture. That is very critical part. Ultimately, systems would be in place, but we need to understand that the softer component, when we miss, we just apply indicators, assessment, and we go into technical things more. But at the end of the day, the culture becomes long-standing foundation for the organization, and it benefits, I think, Rashmi and Sushmita, across board. It is not just the program, the resource mobilization, advocacy, every part is benefited. Thank you so much, Rashmi. Thank you so much.